We've all done it before. You round that corner a little too tight and boom, you catch your pinky toe right on the corner of the wall. Smack it as hard as you possibly could. It hurts like heck for a few seconds and then it's suddenly better. Why is it that you can hit your pinky toe so hard, but all it takes is to bend over and pick up a pencil and your low back can hurt for weeks? My name's Dr. Mesh, and welcome to this week's episode of Whiteboard Wednesday. Before we get started, please subscribe to this channel if you find this information interesting. It really helps a lot. Today, we're going to talk about the pain difference between whacking your pinky toe off of the corner of a wall and bending down to pick up a pencil and tweaking your back. Why is it that you can smack your pinky toe so hard off of something, it hurts like heck for a few seconds and then suddenly it's better, but all it takes is a little back tweak. Maybe you bend over to tie your shoes or you bend over to pick up a piece of paper, and it's just a little motion and it can set off an entire cascade of severe back pain for weeks. Why is that? And I really think it comes down to our brain's perception of the level of importance of different body parts. So think about your pinky toe. It is like the most distal body part that you have. It's a tiny little pinky toe on your foot. So maybe the brain doesn't perceive this area as critical or as important. You can whack the heck out of it, then the brain will perceive it as really, really painful at first, but then suddenly it quickly forgets about it and you no longer have a pain experience. On the other hand, think about what your brain perceives your low back as. It is something critical because it is right in the center of you and it's involved in literally almost every motion that you're doing through everyday life. So your brain perceives your low back as something that's very, very, very critical to its well-being. So even the littlest disruption to it, if you have this negative if you have negative ideas about it, can set off this gigantic pain cascade experience. For example, if you have false beliefs about your low back, or you have maybe a fear that, hey, if I move the wrong way, it may go out of place, or if I bend over and let it round, that's going to make a disc go out of place, or it's going to hurt it. If you have these false beliefs, by the way, both of those things are false. It's okay to bend forward and let your back round, and it's also, it doesn't go out of place. But if you have these false beliefs about it, it can sensitize that area and it can create this hypersensitivity between your brain and your low back, so that any kind of little stimulus or little threat to it, the brain can sort of generate this pain experience and it can make your low back just spasm up and go into ultra protect mode. So it doesn't really do that with the pinky toe. So that's why you can just whack the hell out of it on anything. And yeah, it hurts pretty bad at first, but the brain quickly forgets about it. Whereas if you do the littlest thing to your low back, if you have these false beliefs, if the low back is sensitized, it can set off this giant cascade. So how do we prevent that from happening? First, it's with education. If you have these idea that your low back is fragile, that it goes out of place, or this fear of moving the wrong way, you shouldn't, because none of those things happen. So you need to start this desensitization process. Just understand that, hey, it's okay to move certain ways. It's okay to move anyway because your back is actually pretty strong and stable. So just this education can decrease the threat perception and can reduce these repetitive back tweaks over very, very minute movements. So that's what the difference is between your low back and your pinky toe. Stay moving. Don't be afraid to explore different movement patterns. And then I will catch you next week on next episode of Whiteboard Wednesday. Thanks, guys.